Hello and welcome to another episode of No Splinters. This is our podcast and YouTube video. I'm joined once again, Harry and Harv time. Harvey, how are you doing?
Yeah, not so bad, mate. Just ruined the woodwork yesterday, but apart from that, I'm fit.
Ruined the woodwork. Well. I'm sure we'll get onto it. Yeah, you have a good weekend other than that? Enjoy the football, enjoy the sport?
Yeah, great weekend of sport, bit of racing on, bit of rugby on Amazon Prime, and then topped off with some quality footy on. But disappointed to see I haven't got the old miracle grow out for that moustache of yours, has it? It is a terrible effort.
It is, isn't it? It is. I mean, I'll put the link in the bio this time. Obviously, if anybody's got any spare change, can't go out. We can't be having any pints at the moment. So if anyone wants to donate a few quid to a good cause, there's a few of us in there who are doing it. So if you could kindly donate anything, it'd be well appreciated. But yeah, no, it was a good weekend of sport all round, and obviously very good news today that fans might be back in the ground. You can dust up your old season ticket and hopefully get back to Ellen Road. It'd be sort of same sort of crowds as you used to have in League One, in it, Alf.
No, yeah, it is. Peter Kay's on early doors today. No, with 4,000 fans, it'll still be the loudest ground in the country with 4,000 loud. But unfortunately, I've been reading that Leeds are in Tier 3, so it won't really make much of a difference this side of Christmas, I'm afraid.
Oh, right. Well, that's annoying. But no, it'd be good to see fans back in the ground. I mean, there's talk about it being an unfair advantage to certain sides. But for me, it doesn't really matter. I mean, football, it's just get fans back in the ground. It'd be good to see. It needs to happen. And hopefully might get to a Joshua fight in December, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, let's get stuck straight into it then. First game of the weekend, we're going to do a bit of a Premier League review and obviously have a few topics that we need to discuss. Well, I'll sort of go off at tangents probably, but the first game of the weekend was your mate Fat Frank, I think. Well, I mean, he's proven you wrong, isn't he, Harv? He's doing a good job. He's sat nicely at the table.
He's not at the top of the table anymore, but he's. I mean, if you listen to what I said earlier on, he needed to get Werner in the team. He needed to get more of an attacking option. Caveat that Newcastle were very poor. It turned out to be a training game for most of the game for Chelsea. I don't think they ever got out of second gear, really. I don't think Newcastle were pretty toothless up front. They're just typical Steve Bruce, just trying to low block, and Chelsea picked them off a couple of times, and routine win in the end. Should have been 5 or 6 is my only criticism, but no. Tammy Abraham took his goal well, which is good for England. But if you look at the stats, 71% possession says it all, really. Very disappointing from Newcastle.
Yeah, no, Newcastle, I mean, I'll touch upon them after, but obviously I think Chelsea, to be fair to Chelsea, I mean, they were my tip to come second this year. I thought Liverpool, obviously, and I still think Liverpool will win it, and I think Chelsea will come second. I think they're going to be the closest challengers. Obviously, we'll touch upon Mourinho's Spurs in a bit, who are obviously flying high at the top, but you look at Chelsea, they've signed some brilliant players, there's no doubt about it. I mean, obviously, Havertz hasn't really been involved too much recently. I think he might be injured, but Ziyech is looking like a real player. Mason Mount doing a good job in midfield. I mean, I think he gets unfair criticism because of the whole Southgate England thing. I think he is a good, solid player. And yeah, you look at the team, they've got experience, the likes of Silva, obviously not on the pitch. They've got quality young players throughout the squad. Ben Chilwell looks a great addition again. And I think for me, I think if Chelsea win it this year, I'll be impressed in terms of, I think it'll be overachieving. But I think next year they've got to be going for the title. And to be fair to Frank, is he the man to do it? Who knows? I mean, to be fair, he hasn't really achieved anything yet in his career. Coming fourth with Chelsea last year wasn't neither. For me, it was sort of on par, but it'll be interesting to see if he can come second this year. Then obviously I think there's optimism that next year they can have a real charge. You'd imagine Liverpool are going to have a rebuild if they do win it this year. But yeah, it'd be nice to see you eat your own words with Fat Frank, and you'll have to be begging him at his feet, and he'll show you that Bielsa isn't the man that you think he is, and that you'd have taken Frank Lampard at Leeds.
Would have. Would I chuff is the words to that. Unfortunately, it's an old dugout, so it might not fit in if they get stuck into the old Yorkshire puddings. So I mean, yeah, but Chelsea need to be up there spending £250 million of nefarious means funding alleged. So Abramovich has had a good go at it, and whether it's Lampard in charge of anyone, that you've got enough at your disposal there to be really challenging up the league, really.
Yeah, I suppose so. But I mean, I think he's doing a good job. To be fair, I think he's a bit of a tool. But I think he's doing a decent enough job. He's obviously got that Chelsea spirit in him. He knows what the club's all about, and he's probably their greatest ever player. And it's quite the romantic. If he could win a title with Chelsea, I mean, I think that would, no matter how many points, no matter what else happens, I think that puts him as probably their favourite ever. Well, obviously, I think you put him as a favourite manager. I know what Mourinho's achieved, and obviously Conte and Ancelotti and people who also have done well. But for one of their own to come back and win a title will be amazing. But as you say, he spent a fortune. If he doesn't win a title next year, for me, I think it's an underachievement. I think in terms of, you can't go and spend all that money and not look to compete. But moving on slightly from Chelsea, you're right. Newcastle looks shocking. I mean, Saint-Maximin is their best player. He's their. They've obviously got, what's his name?
He's their only attacking threat.
Yeah, he's their only real.
Almiron,
that's the one. He's their only real attacking threat. He's a good player, and I think he's too good for that Newcastle side. I mean, you look at it, and I think they're not very good, but they're on the same amount of points as Leeds, and we'll touch upon that soon. But they're boring, and obviously he rested Callum Wilson, didn't he, for Crystal Palace on Friday? Now, is that good management, or is it sort of signing yourself up and not competing? I mean, there's two different ways to look at it. If they go and win at Palace on Friday and he bags a couple of goals, I think you look at it and go, well, it's genius from Steve Bruce. But if they go and get beat and play this drab football that they're getting used to, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, really.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Bruce. I personally don't like to see resting. You have to have a bloody good reason to rest your best strike, in my opinion, against Chelsea, because I think it devalues the whole entertainment of the Premiership. You want to see the best players playing against each other week in, week out. So for me, I think it's a negative move, and it shouldn't really be, rewarded. For me, I don't like seeing Wilson get rested. I think it's negative for the whole entertainment of the Premier League as a whole. I hope it doesn't get rewarded personally. I think you should play your best 11 at all times if available.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think obviously it's entertainment league at the end of the day, and it was on Sky or it was on BT, wasn't it? But it should be there, and it should be there to entertain. There's sort of a certain level of responsibility you have, I suppose, as a club and as a manager to put your best side out there at all times. And I remember Chelsea beat Chelsea. Chelsea lost away to Newcastle a couple of years ago. So there's no doubt that they were there for the taking. I mean, it was 1-0 until about 70 minutes. But we move away from the first game to the second game of the weekend, which was Villa against Brighton. Now, Villa seem an anomaly. You look at the results this year, and it's like they've gone and beaten Leicester away. They've beaten Liverpool at home. They've beaten Arsenal, I think, as well. They beaten Arsenal? Yeah, I think they battered Arsenal, didn't they? 3-0 away.
Beat Arsenal 3-0.
Yeah, and now you look at the home results, and they've lost to the likes. Obviously, got battered by Leeds. They've lost again to Brighton, Southampton. They got played off the park against. Really weird mix for Aston Villa, and I think they looked shy without Ross Barkley, didn't they? Jack Grealish, that sort of way they ended up last year, sort of hoping that Jack Grealish would be the man, sort of seemed to come back. And there was obviously the controversy at the end with VAR.
Yeah, I mean, Grealish got more points at the training ground than he did at Villa Park on Saturday. I don't know if you've seen in the press, he's had a bit of trouble with the law and his Range Rover he's got near Solihull, which is a shame for him because he's doing well off the pitch, on the pitch. But no, Villa for me, you just can't work them out. They look poor against Leeds. They look brilliant against Arsenal. Got slapped by Southampton, and then lose 2-1 actually, but we're missing the main point. I think Villa fans listening will be shouting saying, anyone seen VAR? Tweeted it out a few times over the weekend. Has anyone seen VAR? Villa get a penalty in the 90th minute. They give it on the pitch. Villa, and then they go to the monitor and then he overturns it. But for me, it was a penalty and there's no clear and obvious error there. And yet again, VAR star the show and cost Villa a point, in my opinion.
difficult one for me because I watched the first live and sort of the first replay I saw. I thought that's a penalty. But on reflection, I can see why it got overturned. Of all of the decisions this weekend, I think that in terms of the ones that are obviously that are key been highlighted, I think I can see why he does get the ball. Does whatever the lad's called, I can't remember his name. What was he? March or something, isn't it?
Something March, yeah.
Yeah. So he did get the ball, and obviously then he makes contact after. I mean, he gets the ball because the lad kicks it into him, and he went down like a sack of spuds, didn't he? It was 10 out of 10 for diving there. He reminded me a bit of Luke Ayling. But it was a difficult one. I don't have a massive problem with that. I mean, we can move away from that game now and obviously sort of touch upon, let's just go to the VAR. We're on VAR. Let's stick with VAR. I mean, we're sticking on the Saturday. For me, there's two things. And this is surprising as a Liverpool fan. And I've watched it back and I can't really understand where Mike Dean, this one seems to have gone under the radar. I can't understand how Mike Dean has cancelled out that Gabriel Jesus' goal. Because, not Gabriel Jesus. Gabriel Jesus is a handball and Laporte finish. The first time, I mean, with the old rules, I can see that is a handball. But the new law is that the shirt is where the ball hits the hand. And Mike Dean's telling Kevin De Bruyne and he's telling all the players, he's pointing on his sort of bicep saying it's hit him here. Yeah. And the players, rightly so, they're all saying that the new rule is that is okay. The FA or Premier League or whatever have all told us that the handball is from where sort of the shirt cut finishes and it's the rest of the arm. And in real time, I thought that is a handball. It's touched him. It's touched his arm. But when you think about the laws, if you apply the laws correctly, that wasn't a handball. I mean, I think it should be a handball. At the end of the day, it's his arm. But it wasn't a handball, and the referee's got that wrong. And he's telling Kevin De Bruyne and all the players, it's hit him here. And they're rightly in their minds going, yeah, it has hit him there. We agree. But that's not a handball. And Mike Dean's fucked that up. It's typical VAR. It's just getting things wrong, and the referees are atrocious. You look at it, and I thought in hindsight that is hard done by Man City. I don't know what you think on that point, because obviously after that we'll go to the Man United one. But
yeah, well, I mean, sat there watching that as a Leeds fan, I'm just sat there shaking my head in disbelief. I mean, Patrick Bamford got a goal ruled off before the international break for a quote unquote handball, but. The other defender's ass was playing him onside anyway, but they chose not to watch that angle. They watched the angle and they give him offside because of the shoulder was technically offside. So they've ruled that one off, and then they've then given Jesus offside handball for hitting a part of his arm, which on another day it's deemed an attacking advantage to point where you want the bleeding thing, and then on Saturday night. For some reason, it's not handball. It is handball, and where's the consistency? What's happened to attacker's advantage? We want to see goals, not just technicalities and refs making a right dog's dinner of it every weekend. It's getting tiresome. We'll move on in a minute to the other game, but it's just, for me, it's ruining the entertainment of football. It's just getting stupid.
Yeah, I was a big advocate of VAR at the start. I thought it would improve the game. I mean, I remember in my own head, because Liverpool obviously lost the league that they bottled it. The Gerrard slip as such was there was a game around Christmas, New Year.
Shame, that real shame.
There was a game around New Year where Raheem Sterling was adjudged offside against Man City. We ended up losing the game, I think, but he was about 3 foot onside. 3 foot. It was massively onside. They absolutely made a dog's dinner of it. And he was so far onside, it was so clear, but the linesman got it bad, and it was a bad call. And in my head, I thought those kind of decisions will be stamped out of the game. But those decisions are very few and far between. They're very rare, and they're once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
But you look at it, and you think it's changing things like that Bamford goal, right? And sort of maybe the Mane one that was at Liverpool, and you look at sort of certain handballs that are being given that would never have been given beforehand. And I'm just looking at it going, what is going on? The game's changing, and it's not changing for the better. I can't. It's like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Like we've unleashed the beast now, and it's such an unpleasant addition to football. I mean, I thought it would boost the game. I can admit I was wrong. I was such an advocate of technology, but whether it's the people or how it's implemented, it's not going right. I mean,
Yeah.
It's killing the game. You look at the Bamford one, you look at sort of the Mane one. There's been so many others. West Brom, how it's being overturned and sides are getting done over unfairly when there's nothing wrong with the game. It's really got to me, and I just think football's fucking really doing itself a disservice when it's the biggest Premier League's the biggest league in the world, and it's doing nothing. It's detracting from the product. It's stopping the goal. It's stopping the momentum. If there was crowds in the stadium, they wouldn't be celebrating as much at the full.
Oh, there'd be riots now. There'd be riots.
It just really does do my head in.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely spot on, and I mean, it sort of defeats the purpose of having a sports talk show, and we both agree. But I think you find any football fan that disagrees with any point you've made or I've made. Really, it's an absolute farce. And then we move on. I mean, it was a good game. Spurs, very good value for the money. Great win. Typical Mourinho, hard to break down. Would the goal have changed the game? Probably not, actually. I think Spurs played well. But we go to Manchester United, West Brom. And Manchester United, David Coote is the referee, and he's in hot water anyway at the minute. He's a clown. I mean, I don't know how he's a professional referee. If you look at the way he handled the Van Dijk situation, how he ever got the Merseyside gig in the VAR room, it tells you all you need to know about him. He's not even running around. He's sat on his keyboard, making terrible decisions in the booth, and then they think, oh, in hindsight, let's give him the gig at 8:00 at Old Trafford. And Fernandes kicks him. It's so contact, he can't even write it. I was like, why are they even going to the booth? Like, it's such a nailed-on pen.
I cannot get my head around that.
And then they get it over.
I really cannot get my head around
that. Oh, no, yeah, 100%.
I literally do not understand it. I mean, I think West Brom are a sack of shit. Like, they are a terrible football side, and they do the Premier League no benefit. It's a nailed-on reason why West Brom, the Premier League, should be down to 18 sides. I mean, they're a shocking side. They're so boring, but the injustice that is. I mean, if Man United, I don't like to believe it, but I think because Man United, they're a massive club, I feel like there's this underlying bias. Maybe I'm not saying that the referees are cheating, but maybe that they just naturally gain decisions with the way that sort of the atmosphere is at Old Trafford. But that decision is never. I mean, if you go look at the West Brom incident and go, right, now we're going to overturn that. We're going to overturn that. And then 5 minutes later, you go down the other end and you give a handball from that distance. And you just think, you've not had one bad decision. You've had two bad decisions. You could argue you've had, it's not even a 50-50 on either of them. I mean, there's no justice, as you say. And people will talk about, it levels itself out over the season. But does it? Like, Man United are getting all these decisions. Now, I'm not saying there's an underlying thing, but West Brom, if they go down, and they look like they will go down because they're a sack of shit, let's be fair, they're absolutely terrible. But that could be 3 points away at Old Trafford that could have rejuvenated a side who think, actually, look at us. We've beaten a so-called big boy, even though Man United are minnows these days. They could have gone away and got 3 points at Old Trafford, and that could rejuvenate their season. But you look at it, it's just, there's no justice. And I mean, if I was the likes of the managers like Bilic or whatever, if I would be seething. I mean, it made me feel sick to watch it. I wasn't watching at the time. I had the boxing on and I flicked on and I just thought, this is an absolute shambles. And you have to feel sorry for West Brom. But Man United, as I say, I watched the boxing mainly, but another terrible drab performance. Raheem Sterling gets so much positivity because of what he's doing outside of football. I was watching something where they were talking about Sterling or Rashford, saying Raheem Sterling's on fire this year and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, he scored 2 goals in 9 Premier League games. Man United are a terrible football side at the moment. I mean, they've got so lucky. You look at the wins against Brighton and West Brom, where they've got fortunate with VAR. They could be in a real dire strait. And I'm just done with it, to be fair. VAR's pissed me off. So.
Well, VAR's bailing them out like you wouldn't believe. I mean, I was sat there watching it, just like, how is that even remotely fair on West Brom? It's hard enough as it is coming to Old Trafford as a promoted side. Hard enough as it is being West Brom, not winning games. You've got to motivate yourself. You get a great opportunity. You get clearly fouled in the box. And then David Coote decides to be man of the hour, goes to the VAR, fucks the decision up. Manu go the other end, hits his hand, penalty. He saves the penalty, off his line, retake, buries it, finishes the game 1-0. Manchester United have had 44 penalties now in 100 games. You're telling me that isn't... something dodgy going on. You know what I mean? 44 penalties. It took Leeds 2 years to get a penalty in the Championship. 2 years without a penalty, Leeds went. I remember it clear as day. Angus Kinnear said in the programme notes, they're going to stop painting the penalty spot at this point. It took 2 years for us to get a decision out of the road. They had 44 penalties. It's mad. It's madness.
There's no doubt. You do watch them, and they do get a lot of penalties, and quite a few of them are deserved, and that sort of happens with an attacking side. But there's a lot of them that aren't deserved, and it's it just seems, especially when you go West Brom, don't get a penalty if you show anybody 2 penalties and go which one's more reasonable, it's the West Brom one by all day.
Yeah,
and they've got it wrong. They've flipped it the wrong way around, and it's an unjust. But we touched upon, obviously, just over the Spurs game fairly briefly. I mean, I'm going to do a video about Pep Guardiola this week. I think they've given him a 2-year contract, and I think that's because they realise if they're going to sack him at some point. So if we give him a 5-year deal, it's going to cost us a lot of money. I mean, you look at the way that Man City are going. It's downhill. They've had some terrible performances this year. And to be fair to Spurs and Mourinho, if there's anybody's going to win this league that's not Liverpool, I hope it's him, because he is absolutely gold. I mean, I love the bloke, what he stands for. I hope he's the next England manager after Southgate. I know it's a long shot, but I just think Mourinho, he's back to his old best in terms of the way that he can pull off results, and he can give that character, and he just shows that he's got that metal that I don't think Pep Guardiola's got. He's got the bit between his teeth, and he wants it, and it's lovely to see.
You can tell in his press conference he's starting to get a bit chippy and a bit, giving it Pep about, because Pep was giving it all that about how, Raheem Sterling, gets special treatment, and he's moaning about internationals, and Mourinho rightly pointed out that Kane played pretty much every minute for England over the break, and you don't see him crying to the press, and I like the fact that if you poke Mourinho enough, he'll get going, and he's definitely got going this season. But Son, absolutely phenomenal again. Ederson, questions asked of him coming off his line, but for me, Son's the player of the season so far. His goal scoring record, his all-round play with Kane, it's probably the best duo in the Premiership, Premier League, whatever you. But no, I did really enjoy that game. It was a good game to watch. Should we move on to Sunday, Harry?
Yeah, absolutely. Sunday it is. I mean, where are we starting? Obviously, the first game of the day was
Fulham.
Everton, Fulham. I mean, we'll touch upon it briefly. I'll just say that I thought Everton were pretty impressive. I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin is, to be fair, overachieving for what I thought he could do. I think you look at him, I think he's got something like 20 goals in 20 games now, or whatever it is. He's become a real top, one of those, his ratios as a top goal scorer in the whole of Europe. He finished, he was offside for a goal, but he finished one brilliantly that came across from the right. So he had the ball in the back of the net 3 times. He looks like he really knows how to score a goal now, which is the most important thing in football, isn't it? Putting the ball in the back of the net. And to me, I think he looks like a real player. Everton were decent. Iwobi played brilliantly. A player that I never thought had any potential. I thought he really turned it up. Fulham, obviously the penalty miss, and they had moments where they turned up, but they just look soft, don't they? They've got that soft Scotty Parker underbelly where like they're just Fulham. It's just sort of like they're happy to be in the Premier League, and they're happy to sort of take what they've got. They take their wage, and they're not up for the fight. It seems they look like you can get at them and walk over them, and they're not there they're there for the taking every single game I've seen them.
Yeah, I mean, the headline stats from the game is Calvert-Lewin got 2, but Everton had 7 shots all on target, and that's how you beat a team like Fulham. You just keep going at them, and eventually something will give. But they need to just give it a rest on playing from the back now. It's clear, it's clearly not working. They clearly don't have the defenders to do it. Fulham, I watched them in the champion, Leeds direct rivals in the Championship last year instead of in terms of going up. But they fluke going up in my opinion. Brentford just blew up. And Brentford would have been a much better addition to the Premier League than Fulham. They offer nothing in attack. Mitrovic is a thug, and I have no time for him or his antics. And VAR is probably hampering the way he wants to play, because in the Championship you can be a roughhouse, but in this division everyone's watching, as we will move bit. But yeah, no, just terrible tactics. They were lucky to come back into the game. But I mean, Christ, did you see that penalty? That is a European frame moment. That, and 250 quid coming his way to Scotty Parker for that bad boy. I mean that is absolute. That's John Terry-esque. That.
Well, you think about it and you think, could it have Lookman's penalty the other week? Could it's like anything you can do, I can do better or worse in this case. I mean, it was outrageous.
Wasn't it?
It's just, yeah. I mean, it sort of sums up Fulham, doesn't it? They had a chance to get a point away at West Ham, and you think with that goal they might have got something against Everton. And it's those sort of there's no sort of heart and desire. I think. I mean, I know that it's easy to say, Sire. Obviously, they are trying, but there isn't that determination where you've seen sides in the past. I mean, we're going to move on to them now. Sheffield United. But last year they seemed to have that underlying desire and sort of will to win, and they'll try and win a game no matter how it is. Sometimes they played pretty football. I remember against United, they were 2 or 3-0 up against United, and they played some great stuff last year to Sheffield United. But they also had a couple of games where they'd grind out a 1-0 win and play some awful football. But if you're going to stay in the league, you've got to just get results. I mean, and Wilder did that last year, and you look at this year, and there's absolutely nothing there from Sheffield United. I mean, I know what you said a couple of weeks ago that we'll have to wait and see about Ryan Brewster, and it's very early days, don't get me wrong. But Sheffield United need to stay in the Premier League. There is no point. If they go down, whatever happens, I mean, unless he brings them back up, I suppose you could argue. But even then, they needed a striker to keep them in the Premier League. And Ryan Brewster was unproven, too young, and at the end of the day, for 25 million, when Callum Wilson's gone to Newcastle and he's bagging about 7 or 8 already. I know he went down with Bournemouth, but he was a proven goal scorer. And for the Sheffield United to have sort of, I know he didn't start, but their key player has to be a 25-pound striker. And Ryan Brewster does not look like he's got the ability to keep that side in the Premier League. They need goals. They haven't really got any quality. They're a good team in terms of they're well drilled, but I don't look at anyone at Sheffield United and I think good player. Do you know what I mean? I think there's a lot of average footballers who Chris Wilder's done a great job with them, and they've overachieved. And you just think where they're sat now in the Premier League is sort of there is deserved position, and I'm not worried because I don't really care if they go down. But if I was them, I'd be worried. I think I'd be looking up a season ticket in the Championship next year if I was Sheffield United.
Yeah, I mean, McBurney missed an absolute golden chance 1-on-1 off the crossbar. West Ham, very good team. Haller, he's a very lazy player, but Christ, he hit that well. It's about the only thing he did all game, but David Moyes will settle for that. It's his first win since coming off Zoom. But no, I mean, Sheffield United... yeah, I mean, it's hard. They've had a few big key injuries at the back, which never helps when you play that sort of marauding centre back play. You're gonna find very few replacements for your centre backs that can sort of overlap. I mean, that's what they're famous for is that sort of really unique style of play. But they just, when things aren't going right for you in football, they really don't go right for you. And one point, I saw a stat that the worst record than the worst ever team in the Premiership, which was Derby County in 2005, when they went down, they've already got less points than them. So, I would start to be getting quite itchy feet down at the bottom if I was a Blade, which is, it's a shame really, because I think Yorkshire deserve to have a few Premier League clubs. And they play good football sometimes.
I agree. I mean, you look at what's happened today, we can sort of brush upon it because I don't think either of us have watched it. But I know we're skipping forward because I want to finish off on sort of Leeds and Liverpool, our two sort of main sides, I suppose. But obviously Burnley have won today, which is a massive result for them. Chris Wood, former Leeds players, got them 3 points at home to Crystal Palace, and you think that's a result that Sheffield United don't need. I mean, the gap sort of between them and that ties nicely into my point I'm going to make on Leeds United next. But you think about it, for the Premier League, it's always said that here we go. It's always said that 40 points keeps you up. Now, I think that's too many. I think for this year, 40 points is going to be more than enough. I think if you get 30 points, you could stay up in this Premier League season. I think you look at the quality of Sheffield United, West Brom and Fulham. I look at them and think you'll be lucky to get wins at any sides. And Leeds United they're just over a point a game. Obviously, it depends on, the thing is, all right, and I do have a soft spot for Leeds, as I'm sure most people know. I think as a former Leeds United fan when I was a child. And they've done well over the last year. But it's what Leeds United want from the season. Now, for me, I think the way that the media goes on about Leeds United has made this sort of image in my head, at least, and in certain for other people, that Leeds United are some sort of brilliant footballing side who are overachieving, not even overachieving. They're expected to be in a top sort of discussion. You look at what Harry Kane came out and said the other night, something about Leeds United, and are in the same sort of category as Leicester. And I'm looking at it and just thinking, I'm just looking at it and thinking, what is he on about? I mean, there's not really a result this year that I look at other than Manchester City where I think that's a great result for Leeds United. I mean, you look at yesterday, 10 men against Arsenal, and they don't win the game. Everyone goes on about, oh, we were unlucky with the crossbar. Well, you got to hit the goal. That's what the posts are there to hold the net up. You've got to put it in the back of the net. They're not there. That isn't the goal. Stop aiming at the crossbar, lads. I mean, do better. Doesn't matter whether you miss by an inch or a mile. At the end of the day, if it's not in the back of the net, it's not in the back of the net. And to lose, they didn't lose, they drew, but to a 10-man Arsenal at home and people saying what a great performance it was. I mean, Arsenal are terrible. They've scored 9 goals in 9 games. Leeds United are looking very, very lacking on quality, especially up front. Bamford scored a few goals, but at the end of the day, he's shite. We all know what he's on about. And for getting in his head last week that he thinks he should be in England squad, he thought he was going to get a call up. What's he on about? Is he living in a different planet? It's not wrong. I saw his record. He's got nearly 1 in 3 goals for Leeds United since he's gone there. A team that play nice, expansive, attacking football. If you had a striker that could finish, Jesus, I mean, Ryan Bruce did get more goals than him, and he can't finish a wank off at Sheffield United, can he? I mean, I just look at it and I just think I know I'm going on, but this Leeds United euphoria that you lot all have and everyone's going on about is just a myth, and I think it's absolute nonsense. And they've underachieved so far this season. Spent 100 million, and I'm going to let you talk now because I'm sure you're going to disagree.
I mean that was the broadcast of the Anti-Leeds Club, brought to you by former season ticket holder Harry Lister. Well, I mean, what do you need from the? I mean, let's just look at raw facts, right? So Arsenal in their starting 11 had Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, £57.4 million, Nicolas Pepe, £72 million, Lacazette didn't even make the squad, and he's £47 million. Granit Xhaka, who was holding midfielder against our academy player, £40.5 million. So, you know, all of a sudden, this is the level that Leeds are playing at now. We have gone from the Championship to against a team, and we made them look very ordinary. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, brilliant, we should have won the game. That's a given. Any team against 10 men, you should win the game. But we should have finished them off in the first half when they had 11. When they went down to 10, it was a different game because Arsenal stopped. Which then, if you watch Leeds against Palace, if you stop playing against Leeds, it makes it a lot more difficult for us. And we try to force it. We were naive. We should have just kept doing what we're doing. I know Neville on commentary, I actually, been a Leeds fan. It's hard to listen to him, but actually I really like him. And what he said was true. We just got sucked into playing against 10 men. Now, Rodrigo came on. He's been injured. As is Phillips. Phillips made a massive difference for me. The only positive from that game is a clean sheet. Having conceded 8 in 2 games, a clean sheet is what you want. But, Rodrigo's had COVID, unfortunately. Comes on, he rattles a shot just over the crossbar. 2 minutes later, nails the crossbar. Rafinha, our new Brazilian signing, looked great, flashy. Had Willian in his back pocket. Willian had to get subbed off at half-time. But I was sat there and I still thought with 10 men, Arsenal always looked like scoring. And Meslier, to be fair, made a cracking save in the 85th minute. But I mean, I think it's unfair to tie Leeds fans in with the media narrative. The media love a story, and it just shows how stale the Premier League has been. That it takes a character and a team like Marcelo Bielsa's Leeds United to spark the imagination of football fans around the world and show you all what you've been missing. Stevie Bruce, your likes of them have been in there for years playing shite football, and we've come and played some attacking football. And that's where the narrative starts. It's not Leeds' fault.
Around the world.
You look around the world. We're the number 1 watch team in South America, pal. We're the number one watched Premier League team in South America. Over 1.6 million people watch Leeds Arsenal on Sunday. I mean, more than Liverpool, Leicester.
If they're watching, if they're watching Leeds, there's no wonder that all these South American teams haven't won anything for years. I mean, he kept a clean sheet, and he kept a clean sheet against an Arsenal team that can't score a goal. They can't hit a barn door. Never mind
Aubameyang up front.
They had Aubameyang hasn't scored from open play in about 4 years. I mean, he can't score. You've got Robin Koch in defence, who gave the worst performance of any defender I've seen against Spain. I mean, what you've all gone on about? You've signed a German. You
can't blame Koch for the Spain game.
Oh my God.
I mean, did you watch that game? He wasn't at fault for any of the goals.
Oh, mate,
he can't pin it.
You could have put the.
What's he done?
You could have put the Titanic between him and his other centre back.
Mate, you're chatting absolute bollocks, mate. What's Koch's number one job? To keep clean sheets. What did he do on Sunday against a very attacking side? He had a £72 million winger that his only contribution to the game was fucking sticking up on Alioski. That's his only, £72 million well spent, if you ask me. Thanks for coming, fella. Kept the receipt.
A very attacking side. Are you back on the killing old Cush, mate? I mean, I look at it and just think,
hey,
Robin, a very attacking side. They've scored 9 goals all season. They haven't scored a goal in open play in 450 minutes, mate. That's nearly 5 games. They can't score, these lot. And you lot made them. I mean, if Saka could have finished, and he's a great player. He's a great player. But if Saka, they had the best chance of the game, down to 10 men, and Saka should have won the game for Arsenal. I just think they're a shocking side, Arsenal. They're a shocking side. And you didn't even beat Arsenal. I mean, you go away to Everton.
What do you want from us?
You go away to Everton. You go away to Chelsea next, and you've got to think.
If you lose 6 points.
6 points. You'll come back with nil points, and you'll be on a point a game, thinking you'll be in a relegation battle. I mean, and you spent 100 million.
Yeah, but who said it was going to be easy? But spend 100 million. We spent fuck all in the Championship, mate. We've been bankrupt. We've been out of the league 16 years. We had to spend, Sheffield United had to spend big this season. And look where they've come, Fulham, West Brom. You have to spend 100 to keep up with the leaders. I don't. Let's just read the teams around Leeds United, shall we? 12th position, Arsenal, FA Cup winners, 13 points. 13th position, Manchester City, 12 points, former Premiership winners. Then 14th, Leeds United on 11 points. The gap to 18th is all I'm asked about, and it's on 4 points at Fulham. So at the minute, I mean, we've got to settle with what we're doing, but there's no one in Leeds thinking we're pushing Europa League. I mean, it's just a media narrative. It sells papers because we're big time, pal. That's why. They're sick of talking about Klopp and buying the league every season.
Buying the league every season. Well, we'll move on to, after your fanboy, it's obviously fan channel for Leeds United, in your opinion. We'll move on to the best side.
Fucking fan channel. It's truth.
We'll move on to the best side in the world, the best side in the Premier League, and the champions in waiting. It's Liverpool Football Club. I mean, 6 starters missing from the champions side. 6 starters. You look at it. There's no Salah, no Henderson, no Thiago, no Van Dijk, no Gomez, no Trent Alexander-Arnold, no Oxlade-Chamberlain, no Shaqiri. And they absolutely demolished Leicester, who were top of the league. I mean, I've not seen a more convincing performance this year. 3-0, it could have been 7. Every one of them was brilliant. I just think we don't even really need to talk about it too much. I mean, Liverpool are the champions in waiting. They're going to go back to back. Jurgen Klopp's going to become sort of get right into folklore in terms of Premier League history. Champions elect, it's already done, isn't it, Harv? I think you got to say they're the best side.
I mean, unfortunately, your medical department, all the money in the world, they can't keep 11 best players on the pitch for whatever reason. But that's by the by in football. But no, I mean, you look very good. Jota, £50 million well spent, despite Liverpool not being a buying club. They bought £50 million worth of player, and he's looking every bit of £50 million.
It was 45 million. It was 45 million, and we sold Ryan Brewster for 25 million. So he cost 20 million net spend positive from selling a kid. Bear in mind, we sold Lovren. We bought a world-class centre midfielder in Thiago for 20 odd million. I mean, barely even spent anything.
Hold on. Well, but when we go to the new training ground, is there going to be a little plaque there that says sort of net spend champions 2020 or something? I mean, what a load of shite. You've spent 50 million. Don't matter about net spend because your wage bill's probably through the roof anyway. So that probably pays for your wages for the year. You know, it makes me laugh. Liverpool always pride themselves in not being in a buying club, but you spend 90 odd million on a defender, 60 odd million on a goalkeeper. You win the league, so it obviously works. But you know, you can't stand there and tell me that Pep Guardiola is a checkbook manager when Jurgen Klopp finally got a bit of money to spend and you coincidentally won the league and the Champions League. So, but no, it's good. It's
Liverpool have spent 20 million pounds more, 20 million pounds more than Leeds have in the last 5 years. I agree with you that our wage bill's phenomenal, but that's
rubbish.
It's not rubbish. It's true. It's 20 million quid at Liverpool.
It's bollocks.
It's not. It's not bollocks. It's called
bollocks.
Genius, mate. Michael Edwards' genius. We don't spend. What they do is they sell.
It's called a big fat checkbook from Dunkin' Donuts in America.
They sell to reinvest. They do not put their hands in the pocket like Man City do. And they've built that squad with a near 20 million pound a year spent from when Jurgen Klopp arrived. Positive money is 20 million quid a year. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if they spent the money because they've become the best in the world. And you look at Pep Guardiola, what he's done, the bloke's an absolute fraud. But there'll be a video coming this week to discuss about what Pep Guardiola and his underachievement at Manchester City. But we're talking about the best side in the world, the best side in England, the best side that's probably ever been in the Premier League, or that will be in the Premier League because they'll show themselves when they go and win.
Have a day off.
When they win back-to-back Premier League titles, including a Champions League, back-to-back Premier League titles with over 90-odd points in each season, 97 points when we came second. Premier League champions, we'll probably win another Champions League. This is the greatest side that's ever been in the Premier League, and we're witnessing history. I'm telling you, there's down with 6 players, down to 6 players, and
unfortunately the Invincibles.
The Invincibles, they got 90 points.
Well,
what's it? Well, right,
they didn't lose a game, mate.
Yeah, but they don't. If the Invincibles, Liverpool got more points, you don't win the league. You can be invincible and get relegated. So there's your saying gone. You can be invincible and not win a game, mate, and get relegated. It's absolute nonsense. Well, you can.
I'm telling you right now that was a party political broadcast from the fucking Liver Bird fan club. I mean, what a load of best team in the Prem. What a load of nonsense. You are very good, but, you know, let's not get carried away. There's plenty of football to play. Another few ACLs flying about, and it could be a different story. You know, Spurs look the challenge. They're not going to concede many on the basis of that performance. But, you know, to be honest, it's anyone's to win. You know, Chelsea could get a run in. Fat Frank's got them flying. And I think actually it's probably that Van Dijk injury's made it the best Premier League in a few years.
Since Van Dijk's got injured,
near the bottom.
Since Van Dijk's got injured, Liverpool have barely conceded a goal, mate. We've gone 3 games in the Champions League, not conceded a goal. We've gone clean sheet at home against Leicester, conceded 1 goal against Sheffield United, West Ham. I mean, 1 goal away at Man City. Van Dijk, when he was in the team, we shipped 7 at Villa, mate. I mean, the side looks better without him. Alisson's return is so important. You look at him.
The side looks better without Van Dijk. So you're saying Klopp wasted 90 million then?
No, absolutely not. I mean, to replace the best centre-back in the world is no easy achievement. But when you sat there without Gomez and Van Dijk...
Best centre-back in the world.
Without your best centre-back in the world, I mean, I think I'd give Virgil van Dijk with a crook knee than your back four. I mean, League One Liam and Robin Koch, who can't defend against Spain. I mean, Fernan Torres got a hat trick against Koch, and I mean, Koch's. Anyway, we move on because
how many did he score against him for Man City at Ellen Road, mate? Well, it's fucking talking nonsense again. Leeds kept a clean sheet. It's as simple as that. It don't matter how many forward passes he makes. He's not David Silva. He's not going to hit every single pass. But if Rodrigo's shot goes in, he got an assist, and it's all forgotten about. It's fine margins in football. It's
fine margins, and obviously there's a big gap, and it's all right. Mind the gap, Harv, as they say. I think we agreed a lot early doors, but I think we've more than made up for it after. I think there's a few differences in opinion on a few matters. Hopefully everyone's enjoyed this week, and obviously I think we've delved fairly deeply into the Premier League, and I think there's a few. I'm going to be doing a few videos on YouTube. Obviously, give us a subscribe, hit that like button, and get us up the algorithms. I think Harv's going to do some racing tips as he is.
Some racing tips for Saturday.
He's never tipped me a winner. We should say, Harv, because obviously I don't think we touched upon it after the Masters, that my tip of Corey Connors at 200 to 1. Corey Connors, 200 to 1, top 10 each way. I think it was all right, that one, wasn't it? Well played, mate. In an 8th place finish. Absolutely. Thank you very much. I'm here all day.
Well, my tip was beating Mr. Connors until he an eagle, a birdie, eagle, and then a bleeding double bogey, triple bogey. So that had put him well out of betting. Which is you hate to see, but old DeChambeau told you all to not back him. Didn't fancy him, shit odds, and proved it right. But I think a bit of racing preview for Saturday on the old ITV racing now. Now that's the jumps are back in full flow, so watch out for that. Value, Harv's tips, the famous tips, mate. But no, thoroughly enjoyed that today. I think we agreed to disagree on a few matters later on in the day, but another barnstorming episode, if you ask me.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I say, if you could give it a share, give us a like, subscribe, check us out on YouTube, because we've got some interesting videos going to go up. I mean, a lot of these clips will be on there in segments, and we're going to be talking a bit about why Pep Guardiola's underachieved as a Manchester City manager. Obviously, there's a bit about VAR to go on, and a few other things, and sort of maybe a few other sports. There's obviously a massive fight this weekend with Joe Joyce and Daniel Dubois. And it's exciting. Hopefully we end lockdown soon and we can be back in person.
Yeah, that's it, mate. We might have to put the boxing gloves on ourselves if we have another episode like that in person, mate.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Love you and leave you.
All the best. God bless.